All right, so I am here with the lead singer of Behind Crimson Eyes, Josh Stuart. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good, Lucas. How are you?
Good, buddy, good. We talked before, but we finally got this rocking and rolling. We've been talking about it for a little while, so I'm glad we finally got it started.
Yeah, maybe it started back at Story of the Year. Maybe that's when it started when we
Um,
caught up at the
yeah, well, I was going to bring that
the
up because I want to talk
British.
about I want to talk about the Iron Maiden story again because I think that that's sick. That should kind of get out to the
Yeah,
masses. But
sure.
no, I kind of wanted to chat to you guys at that point and put something in stone, but we never kind of did. Obviously, the farewell's going to be coming up, and just before we kind of kick in, my opinion, I think you guys are one of the most important bands in Australian the heavy scene, just in general. Up there with bands like Parkway, Amity, Prom Queen, Break Even. Like there's some legendary bands, and I think you guys kind of sit in that pantheon. So I do appreciate your time taking the time out to chat. Like it's a
Oh
sick
man,
moment.
that's high praise. I tell you what, up there
Yeah.
with Parkway and Amity and Prom Queen. I mean, those are OGs in the heavy music scene. So yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been a fan of you guys. I think since maybe 2006, seven was one of the first shows I ever went to. I saw you guys, and I'm like, oh, they're sick. And literally, I think it's every show for like I don't know 8 years or something. You guys were the opener on like almost every international. So yeah, like you guys have just been kind of part of my life for the last 20 years, and it's sad to see it go away. But it's good that you're going out kind of on your own. So
Yeah, it was a tough decision because we all love playing shows. We love BCE. We're like best friends as well in the band. So from that point of view, it was really tough to make the call. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's a nice way to be kind of like let's celebrate what we've achieved, the success we've had, and do one last round and enjoy it with people like you and our other fans that have been along for the ride as well. So otherwise, there's a risk if you can't commit 100% full time to being in a band that it just kind of fades away year after year. People move on with their lives; they're busy with family and etc. So we thought this was one of the best opportunities we probably could have to round it out.
for sure. And how are the vibes in the band kind of with it all coming to an end? Because I'm getting ahead of myself, but obviously the last show is going to be in May at home in Melbourne. Is it kind of like a bit impending, being like, it's coming to an end, or are you just pumped that, you can't wait to get these shows out, get the EP out, all that good stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't really had too much time to think about it. There's just so much going on. At the moment, we're self-managed. We're putting out our own music, so there's just a lot to do. And I probably didn't fully appreciate how much our management and record label did for us back when we had them. But now that I'm having to do it myself, it's a lot of work. So I haven't really had time to really process and think about that. These are the last shows that we're ever going to do. But there was a few times, I guess, on the last tour where we supported Story of the Year, and we knew this was happening. We knew this was coming up. Where I did kind of stop and sort of be like, oh, this will be sad. This is the last time we're going to be at, this venue, or last time I'm going to sound check in this and do this. So I'm sure it'll all really hit home once we start kicking off the tour. But yeah, until then, I'll try and keep busy putting out the music and preparing for tour.
Is there any shows on the tour that's coming up that you haven't played yet? Like, is there any venue, sorry?
Um, I don't think we've played Oxford Art Factory before. We've done Stay Gold before. I'm pretty sure we've played Brightside before. We've done Amplifier before in Perth for sure, and maybe not Jive Bar, unless it's changed its name from something we have played. I don't think we've played that venue before.
Yeah.
So yeah, a few.
Yeah, cool. So obviously as well, like you touched on it before with like kind of going out on your own terms and that, but 2025 does seem to be the big year of the farewell tour. Yumi at Six have obviously just wrapped their big tour. She had Void of Vision, both got it tours upcoming. Refused are about to kick off their final tour as well. When you were looking at kind of booking this and kind of going, okay, this is going to be the last time, like, were you guys thinking about like the impact of like saying, hey, we're going to like, these are our terms, this is how we're doing it? Like, was that kind of a big thing in the forefront of the mind?
Um, I guess we just knew we wanted to do a headline tour as our last thing, and Unfortunately, we had like a very tight window to make this work. Dan, our drummer, is also a drummer for Listen Esso. You might have heard of them. They're freaking huge. And
I'm a big Dan Kirby fan, my friend. I was going to talk about him later because
yeah,
the new songs with his drumming are sick, but I'm going to bring it up now because oh my god, I'm stumbling over the words. But yeah, he's such a killer drummer, man. Like Bliss and Esso. I know he did some shows with Unwritten Law a little while ago.
yeah.
He also drums for
He's
28
played
days.
in,
Like,
yep.
yeah, he's got a crazy
He's a
career, man.
machine. He's a machine. And okay, just to wrap up the previous thing, we had a really um, tight schedule here because he is so busy doing other stuff. So he has a couple month long regional tour booked with Bliss and Esso. He's having another kid right now. Like his wife's due in a couple of weeks. So there was like 3 weeks that we could kind of fit this in, or it would kind of get pushed to next year, and we didn't really want to do that. So yeah, this we knew we wanted a headline tour. We knew these are the 3 weeks we can kind of do it, and sort of we worked with Destroyer Lines and Jaden from there to try and make it work. So he did that. But yeah, Dan Kirby, back onto Dan Kirby. He is an absolute animal. And when I'm not sure how much of the history you know, but our previous drummer, Cam Gilmore, who drummed on both our records, A Revelation for Despair and the self-titled, he left just after that record came out, and he was an incredible drummer. Like he was, for 18 when he joined, just phenomenal. So to fill his shoes was a big ask, but I don't know how, by some miracle, Dan liked our band before and messages. Can't even remember how he got onto us, but yeah, came and tried out, and yeah, I guess the rest is history. But just a phenomenal drummer, and yeah, really, really thankful that he found us.
Yeah, no, bro's an absolute gun, especially on the new tracks, which again we will get into. But
Yep.
kind of, I guess, then talking about the history of the band, because again, I've been around with it for a little while. I didn't realize until I was kind of doing all my questions up that Parva Nocturnus turns 20 next month.
Oh, geez. Yep, that's true. Yeah, it just clicked. I know we've been a band for 20 years, but yeah, just that's right. It came out in 2005. So yeah,
March
20
2005.
years. That's incredible. Yeah, wow. That, I'm feeling it now. But
I know when you did the Story of the Year show, you obviously pulled some deep cuts from that. I think what was in there? It was Curse. What's the name of the song?
we did Empty Promises and we did Black Veil. I can't remember if we played Game of Life as well, maybe.
You did play Game of Life. You did play Game of Life.
Yeah,
I lost my shit when you played it.
Yeah. That was the first song that ever got radio play for Behind Crimson Eyes. Triple J picked it up, and it wasn't on high rotation or anything, but they would spot play it for us. And I mean, in moments in a band's history, like it's, your first gig, it's your first time you record, it's first time you hear yourself on the radio. And yeah, Game of Life was that song. So it always holds a bit of a special place for us as well.
Did Triple J give you a heads up, being like, "Hey, this is the first time it's ever playing on the radio"? Like, I've always been curious about those conversations.
Exactly. Like those conversations can happen both ways. Like they can just play your stuff, especially on shows like Short Fast Loud or something like that. They kind of have creative control, so they'll just put it on if they want. For something like getting in high rotation, that's something that was really highly, collaborated with the record labels and stuff like that. Because at the time it was Richard Kingsmill, but he was the guy that decided, if something got rotation or not. So there was a lot of conversations there. I don't think we ever got high rotation. We did get a lot of rotation with something like Shakedown, especially around the time they put us on the Triple J One Night Stand with Silverchair. So we got played a lot during that period as well.
Yeah, for sure. just because I guess you brought up One Night Stand, that was another thing I was going to bring up because that was 2007. That just 2007 seemed like a bit of a crazy, or 2007. I can't even go back. 2005 all the way through to maybe 2009 was just an insane couple of years because you guys did Taste of Chaos, you did the Bullet Tour, you dropped 2 albums, and you did the One Night Stand with Silverchair. Plus as well, obviously the aforementioned Iron Maiden concert. How has it kind of been to go back and look at just the shit you guys have done and just be like, these are crazy moments? Like, because that wasn't long before Silverchair called it quits. That Iron Maiden show, I don't know if you're aware, was the first time Iron Maiden had played Australia in 21 years. You know, Taste of Chaos, you guys were still fresh. I think you were not even a band 2 years, and you guys were opening for The Used and Killswitch and all those kind of bands. Like, has it ever really sunk in the craziness?
It only in the last few days when, you know, been thinking about stuff like this, like an interview and thinking about what we might talk about, you start to think back. And you're right, like 2004, the band formed. We did a couple of demo songs, and then the very next year we're playing, that was at Rod Laver Arena. So our first big support slot was in front of 10,000 people. And then, as you said, like things kind of just gained momentum and were crazy over a couple year period. And it was an absolute whirlwind. It feels now, and it was, I guess, a lifetime ago, but, you know, it feels like a long time ago now, but also somewhat recent. I guess COVID messed up everyone's, perceptions of time, but it definitely feels like I can picture that time, but also it was like, 20 years ago. So we were really fortunate. Like, I often think of just in general, you've got to be good enough to do what you do first and foremost, but everything else is luck. So it's, you know, it's hard work, talent. I don't want to say talent, but, you know, something else, and a lot of luck. And we had a lot of luck. It just kind of clicked and worked at the right time. We knew the right people that would help us get shows. We knew the right people that would help us get signed. And, you know, it just sort of built a momentum of its own. So I feel very lucky that we got to do what we did. But yeah. Stoked about it too.
No, so something else that was kind of like interesting as well, and I love kind of putting little small things together like this, but obviously the first kind of big headline shows you guys ever got was the Taste of Chaos. Story of the Year played that. The last supporting slot you guys get to do, Story of the Year. Was that a
story? Full circle. Coincidence. I guess, you know, some things are coincidence. Some things, I guess, just have this time and place. And right now, nostalgia is a big thing. I guess, like you know, we grew up over this period, and you want to look back and relive some of those times again now that you're 30 or 40 or whatever. And so it makes sense, you know, some of these bands are touring and popular again, as they were back 20 years ago. So not intentional, but I guess it all sort of comes together.
Nah, it's super cool. I think it's like, just as a fan perspective, like, I think at the time you guys had just announced the breakup was happening, and it wasn't until, again, I was doing research for this that I saw that Story of the Year were the first band, like, well, not the first band, but like you guys were on the tour with them, and then kind of having that moment of like, oh, the last touring support slot they did as Story of the Year. That's crazy. Like, wondering the perspective. Now we've talked about the Iron Maiden show, and you gave me a couple of stories just while we were watching Story of the Year about that run. If I remember correctly, something we didn't talk about was, because obviously your band is so different to what the Iron Maiden crowd would have been expecting. Did you guys? Do I remember you guys ripping out an Ace of Spades cover or something? You guys did a cover song?
Yeah, we did. We tried to win them over with some Lemmy. So it half worked. There was definitely a few more cheers than there were boos when we played that song. So job done.
But yeah, run us through, like, obviously the kind of the challenges that came with being such a different band to Maiden, and what that tour was like for you guys.
Yeah. So when we got the offer, we couldn't believe it. We, like you, we were such a different genre. I mean, it's not a mile apart, but it's definitely different. And if you're into Iron Maiden, you weren't really listening to a band like us. Um, so when we got the offer, we were debating, albeit like not for long, whether we should be taking the slot or not, just because of that we felt, we didn't quite fit the bill. But I mean, if you're offered a support slot for Iron Maiden, you take it, right? Like no matter who you are, you take that slot. So the debate was short lived. We took it, and we found out later it was a combination of the band and management that the Iron Maiden management, that is Iron Maiden and their management, that wanted us and chose us for the tour. Like they get to say who plays their support shows, who support on their shows. So that gave us enough confidence to be like, okay, cool, we should be here and playing. But it was definitely, we knew going in it was going to be hostile territory. So we, as you alluded to, we thought what could get us some of the people on our side, and we decided that let's play Motorhead's Ace of Spades, banging song. And so we stuck that, early on in the set to try and help people just warm to us a little bit more. And as I said, it kind of worked. There was still a section of the crowd that was right in front of us that was just giving us the fingers, or they would turn around, or they'd chuck shit at us. But we got up there and had a bit of fun, because it was I think the first night was 16,000 people it was called Acer Arena back in the day in Sydney, but I'm not sure what it's called now. But yeah, 16,000 people first night, a lot of booze, but we made it through, and we got a really cool story to tell now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you can be rest assured that there was at least one person in Brisbane singing every word in the stands. That was me. That was me.
You were there. Thanks.
Yeah, it was.
You're the one guy.
Well, what's funny is like I didn't even know you guys were going to be on it. So I rocked up assuming, because it was Iron Maiden, and I think they'd announced that Laura Harris was also playing, which is Steve Harris's daughter. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Two, one band, one support, sick. Oh, headliner and one support, dope. And then we rocked up, and then we saw the list on the door, and it was like Behind Crimson Eyes at 8:30 or whatever. And I'm like, we need to be in there. And I grabbed my mate, and I'm like, run in, let's go. And I was literally just in the stands losing my shit. And people around me were booing, and I'm like, I don't care. This is the sickest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because I think at that point, I'd seen you guys like 10 times, and I'm like, it was little bars and small clubs and stuff like that. I'd never seen an Australian band play that stage before.
Yeah. And it's a daunting thing, because like for the support bands, obviously you don't get the same kind of stage show as the headliner. So we're playing in front of a curtain or whatever. And it's hard to generate the usual intensity, enthusiasm, reacting with the crowd when they're so far away and it's such a big room and they're not quite there for you as well. So I had a little bit too much liquid courage, I think, on the first night to get through. But we just went out and tried to do our thing and not worry too much. So it's cool that you were there and you got to experience it. We've got a little bit of video footage from that, which I have watched recently, and it was a bit of fun to look back at that. So yeah.
Fingers crossed it goes up soon. I'd be keen to see some of the old footage. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, actually that's something I should be doing. So I'll try and put up some old stuff, including the Ace of Spades cover I do have. So put that one up.
Sick. So obviously now, kind of with the end now approaching, you've got the EP coming up, you've got the final tour. When the decision was made to kind of call it quits, was doing one final run of songs before the final tour something that was discussed early on, or was it just, what was the kind of conversation about making more music before calling it quits?
Yeah, I guess it's part ego. It's probably mostly ego, right? Like it's this feeling that you're like, I know I can do something better than my last thing. So it was that. And the guys that we've got together now that are behind Crimson Eyes, we've recorded once before. It was a couple songs back in 2017, 18. And there was some intention there to kind of keep building on that, but then COVID happened and all that. So I guess we just wanted this one last opportunity to put out something that feels like that represents us and leave a really good impression. You know, like the last thing that we've done, this is it. This is what we think our best is at this stage. And hopefully when you look back at our catalog, it sort of does mark one of the high points, I guess. Yeah, that was the intention.
For sure. And obviously the two songs, Drop Dead, Drop Dead, and Burn It Down, I think are the best songs of your guys' entire career. So like, you saying that kind of makes me feel justified in saying that, because sometimes that's a big call to make. Especially like Drop Dead. I didn't know that you guys had made a new song until that Story of the Year show, and I'm like, oh, this song rules. Went back, watched the video, and I'm like, oh my god, this is sick. How many songs have you got planned for the EP, or have you not dropped any of that info yet?
I haven't dropped any info, but I'm happy to drop some info here.
Cool.
So we went in with the plan. I'll give you some backstory. We went in with a plan of like, okay, let's do maybe 5 songs would be awesome. The Dead Drop plus 4 more. Then we got in there and we hadn't written as many as we'd hoped going into the studio. So it was a little bit stressful thinking, maybe we're going to only get 3 new songs instead of 4. We ended up with like doing 2 other songs from start to scratch in the studio. So it'll be 7 songs in total. So there'll be 5 unreleased songs that yeah, obviously you haven't heard yet, which is, I mean, we're only a few away from a full-length album, so that's pretty cool that we managed that. Pulled it out of the bag right at the very last moment, though. But yeah, I think, like you're saying, I feel like some of these songs are the best we've ever written, and as you said, I feel like that is a big call to make, because I'm really proud of what we did with A Revelation for Despair. That was something I'm really proud of in our career. So yeah, but I feel like as a band, we're really, hitting our stride and writing some good stuff. So that's nice to do it on the last stuff.
For sure. And I know there's another band that, or someone from another band that you've worked with very closely on this with the mixing and the production, which is Ione from Ocean Sleeper. Mate, They have been, I found them, much like you guys, I found them about a couple of years ago. They opened for Make Them Suffer. And they were a band that literally they came into my life at the right time with the right message. And I was like really kind of pulled in. Was Ione kind of big in in the writing and helping you guys kind of find that sound? Because when I realized he worked on that album in terms of the production, I started noticing Ocean Sleeper stuff throughout, which is kind of dope.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely has a style, and you can hear it in his production that it does feel similar to Ocean Sleeper. And obviously because he produces all that as well, like it's always going to have some sonically similar elements. But Ione did definitely play a part in shaping these songs and helping drive that more heavy metalcore sound that these songs do have. And prior to Ione, we hadn't worked with anyone different. Like it would be the same person from Pavor Nocturnus every album since. So I think that got a little bit stale towards the end. So it's really awesome to work with someone fresh and new and younger, and also an awesome musician and in an awesome band himself. So he really kind of knows what's current and what works. And so he helped a lot, crafting these songs and making them sound as good as they do.
For sure. And I think he would have probably been a big fan of the band too, like growing up, same as me, big fan of the band, and being like, hey, how can I kind of make like the Behind Crimson Eyes vibe, just that one last time, like sound as good as it can. Like, I know he would have put everything into it.
Yeah, I don't want to put him on blast and out him, but yeah, he said he was like a massive BCE fan. He grew up in Country Vic, and so not many bands and stuff go out to play these places. I think we did. I'm not, and Andy and I actually, this is bringing back some memories. We did play there. It was a place called Terrelgren, and I had a picture of that gig. And I sent it to him just recently, and he's like, "No shit, I am that kid, like fourth back from the row front, kind of thing." I was like, "Oh, that is crazy." Well, kind of again, bringing it full circle. So yeah, he was a big fan, and you're right, like he really wants to make this the best thing that we've ever done. So that's awesome to have someone on your side like that.
Yeah, that's sick. So we'll talk about the song that come out in October. So Dead Drop Dead, the final kind of the first final track you guys dropped. That song is probably the most heavy song in your guys' entire discography, I think. Like not just lyrically, because like there's also kind of the mental health element of the song and all of that.
Yep.
But when you were looking at it, like I don't think you guys had really dropped a song like that before. Was that kind of intimidating a little bit to kind of go as heavy as that song did at the start and the breakdown and stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. My musical tastes have gotten heavier as I've gotten older. So I listen to a lot more of that style of music now. And when we wrote the song, I just remember going in with we wanted to release something before that Story of the Year tour because it was a good opportunity to say, hey, this is going to be our last stuff ever. Here's a track. There's more to come. And Az and I went into the studio. We weren't we didn't have anything really. And Az was kind of like, what are you listening to? What do you like? And I sort of showed him a few things. And then I think we settled on like one of the Sleep Token songs as like a guide to how to structure the song. And then we built stuff around it. So I know Sleep Token isn't a heavy band, but they have some really heavy moments. And their song structures, I think, lend well to that. So, so that's how sort of that came. In terms of intimidating, I'm not sure. Like, it just felt natural because that's what we'd sort of been listening to. And I'm surprised at how well it went down at those shows for how heavy a track it is and how different it is to the other bands and our back catalogue. So, but everyone who saw us that night really enjoyed that track. So, yeah,
I was blown away with it because, like, again, you guys kind of make like the heavier side of metalcore kind of stuff, but that opening scream, I was like, holy shit! Like, what is this? So yeah, no, killer. The second song you guys then dropped was "Burn It Down," which I think kind of leans a little bit more. Well, not even think. I straight up know it leans a bit more into like the political, social climate of the world. Obviously Dead Drop Dead also having the mental health thing, like these are songs that are very big on a message. So when we were putting the lyrics together, was that something again that was at the forefront, or did you just want to make cool tunes, or did you want to be like, these are our final songs, let's send a statement?
Yeah, it's something I've always dabbled in. There's sort of right back to the very first songs we ever wrote, Bullets for Blood. That was about the Iraq War, the second Iraq War, and a bit of a protest against that. And then we'd had a mix of like social kind of commentary, but also personal stuff in Revelation for Despair. But it's something right now that it's something I spend a lot of time thinking about. And obviously world events, it's hard to ignore now. Like it's just so ingrained in almost everything that I did want to give my opinion on things and then hopefully feel like I can, I don't know. I feel like when times are bad, art is really good, right? Like you can really find something you strongly believe in and then communicate that through art. And that's what I enjoy most and feel best doing is when I really connect with a subject, when I really feel passionate about it, being able to write and communicate that. And hopefully other people who may not necessarily agree will find some common ground in it. Or I might awaken someone who's completely politically ignorant to problems that I feel are in the world and dig deeper, into the lyrics or into the other concepts around it.
Yeah. No, I love the song. Like I was saying, I guess with Dead Drop, like I think that's probably the heaviest song in you guys' discography. From what I've heard so far out of everything, plus not hearing the new songs yet, Burn It Down's my favorite by far. Like for years it was the
Yeah.
Bonesman and Shakedown and stuff like that, but Burn It Down sits in my car playlist and I've only got like 20 songs in it. So I'm hearing that song every 20 songs, just losing it on the driving wheel, just like on the steering wheel, just
Yeah.
singing along. It's so good.
Oh, that's awesome to hear, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Now, also with that song too, you guys got Sally Chatfield from Lunacy on the chorus. Again, when writing putting the song together, was the idea to have a feature there, or were you just kind of like again
Yes.
just letting it grow?
So it's a good question, and it started out when Liam sent me the demo because Liam basically wrote the song in one shot and sent me a completed song, or sent everyone a completed song, which is not how we typically write. But he did that, and as part of it, he kind of just some female placeholder vocal there, and I think it was more to try and work out some melody, or he had some idea for the melody in the chorus. And I think the original intention was to replace that with something either me vocally or as vocally, but we could never find something that sounded as good. And we're in the studio and we're discussing it with Ione, and he was like, let's see just what happens if you can come up with something better in the studio. Nothing ever hit, so we'll sort of most of the way through recording, and Ione's like, I know this girl who'll be perfect for this. Let's get her in and record and see if you guys like it. And she came in and just smashed it. Like, it's awesome seeing a professional vocalist work, because I can't do what she did. She just came in and within an hour it was sort of all done and was nailing things, second take. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, I love the juxtaposition between my heavy vocals and the heaviness of the track, and then her sort of more light, clean, angelic type vocals in the chorus. That's I do like that contrast. So I'm not sure what do you think of having a feature on there?
Dude, killer. Absolutely killer.
Yeah.
For a moment it takes me out of the song because I'm not used to Behind Crimson Eyes having features. But then like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if Josh could sing this. Like,
No.
it's just perfect. It's such a good idea. And obviously hearing it come from Ione, like that dude's a genius.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you're right, I couldn't sing it, so I'm glad she could.
Killer. All right. Well, An Exodus for Eden, the new EP, the final EP, it's going to drop on April 4th before the final run of shows of all capital cities starting in mid-April. This is not going to be shows to miss. Like I said, seen you guys, I think, almost now 20 times. I'm going to be at Brisbane. I'm going to be in Melbourne for the final show. I cannot wait. Sad it's over, but I'm glad you guys are going out the way you want to go out. So all the best and good luck with the tour and the EP.
Really appreciate it, Lucas. Thanks so much. Catch you in Brisbane and Melbourne.